died from such blood loss. Yet Lancelot forced himself to his feet, a savage, triumphant grin spreading across his face. Gripping his nearly shattered sword with both hands, he began to chant aloud. "Fallen knight of the netherworld, let my blood dye the banner of rebellion crimson. When angels fall, wings shattered, I shall sing the hymn of doom with my torn throat. Skill, knight's hymn of hell." As his chant concluded, the flowing blood miraculously reversed course, surging back into his body. His form seemed recharged with power, his entire being radiating an even greater might than before. Qinling Arc stared at Lancelot, who had recovered considerably, yet his face remained utterly expressionless. As one of Nash Kingdom's top extraordinary mutants, he had begun cultivating what was known as the martial way from childhood. He had encountered all manner of bizarre and unusual schools of thought. It could even be said that compared to mutants from the outside world, his research into this field had begun decades earlier. Whether it was forbidden arts for temporarily boosting strength or the ability to regenerate severed limbs, none of it fazed him. In his eyes, these were mere flashy tricks. Nothing compared to the battle sword in his hand. The massive frame strode forward with deliberate steps, advancing steadily toward Lancelot. From start to finish, he showed no hatred or animosity toward Lancelot. His gaze held only one word: death. Like a cold-hearted grim reaper, his mission here was singular: to kill a man. Lancelot wiped the corner of his mouth. Though he'd regained some stamina through the night's song of hell, the injuries inflicted by Qinling Arc were real and incurable. This formidable three-eyed clan being imposed an overwhelming sense of pressure upon him. He had to admit it, he was no match for the man before him. "But I've bought enough time," Lancelot murmured softly. Qinling Arc charged forward, sword raised. Yet Lancelot's gaze fixed on the distance, as if awaiting something's arrival. Whoosh, the battle sword whipped up a raging tempest. Before the blade itself reached him, its terrifying wind already sliced through Lancelot's combat suit like 10,000 swords. Lancelot raised his sword once more, laughing as he clashed fiercely with Qinling Arc. The battered blade gained a new chip with every collision. Though forged from his own supernatural power, the blade couldn't withstand such relentless assault. Snap! After countless frenzied exchanges, the war blade finally snapped clean in two under the pressure. The force sent Lancelot's body hurtling backward. He struggled to steady himself amidst the ruins. Qinling Arc watched him coldly. "As a swordsman, you're already dead without your blade. Still wish to struggle?" Lancelot hung his head, his body convulsing. Slowly, laughter rose from his throat. "Ha!" He lifted his head, his laughter growing more unrestrained. "You truly are remarkable. But perhaps you don't know, I possess more than one sword." In the distance, two streaks of light rapidly closed in. They were the other members of the Knights of the Round Table. Qinling Arc had sensed their presence long ago, but he paid them no mind. Even an Epsilon-class Lancelot was no match for him, and his Delta-level subordinates couldn't even block a single strike. What difference did it make that they'd arrived? Still, he wouldn't give his enemies a chance. Sword in hand, he prepared to finish Lancelot. Along with the rest of those arrogant insects, all to be wiped out. By now, those two figures had reached Lancelot's vicinity. They were none other than the Green Knight, Bowser, and the Pure Knight, Gawain. "Deputy Captain, brace yourself," Bowser bellowed, and in the next instant, his body began to twist and transform mid-air. As a plant-type mutant, his ability, World Tree, allowed him to transform into a colossal tree or summon trees to fight. His limbs and torso rapidly greened, twisting into a massive tree as vines coiled around him, gradually reshaping his form. Yet slowly, its shape grew increasingly bizarre, ultimately transforming into a colossal longsword. Indeed, a verdant blade woven from countless intertwined vines. Sword in the tree. Lancelot caught the sword in one fluid motion. Vines still flailed wildly along the blade's length, while tendrils at its tip coiled directly around Lancelot's arm. Their sharp ends pierced his flesh like needles, binding the two together in an inescapable union. Meanwhile, Pure Knight, Gawain landed lightly upon Lancelot's body. Her form rapidly dissolved into a viscous, water-like substance, then slithered like a slug through the seams of Lancelot's combat suit. Pure Knight Gawain, a healing-type ability user, ability, code Purified Water. The purest water can heal all wounds and consume negative substances within the target's body. She was a pure support ability user, much like Shokir. With two support ability users now aiding Lancelot, forming a trinity, his combat power surged dramatically. This was precisely why he dared to confront the superior Qinling Duhan head-on. Qinling Duhan's brow furrowed slightly. He sensed the shift in his opponent's aura. The addition of these two support-type mutant would increase his pressure slightly. But it didn't matter. Do you think these useless things will let you defeat me? You childish insect. Qinling Duhan dismissed the notion with contempt. His form shifted, and in the next instant, he appeared before Lancelot. The giant sword swung down with a crushing blow. Lancelot twisted his wrist, meeting the attack head-on with the sword in the tree. The sword in the tree suddenly swelled, sprouting dense branches and foliage. Like a towering tree materializing on the spot, it blocked the battle blade. Qinling Duhan's strike sank deep into the wood, yet failed to sever it. The sword in the tree, transformed from the Green Knight Bowser, possessed the toughest wood fibers. It was the ultimate defense against sharp blades. Most terrifyingly, as a plant-type mutant, his self-healing abilities far surpassed even those of enhancement mutants. Whoosh! Countless green vines shot from the sword in the tree, instantly coiling around the battle sword and reaching toward Qinling Duhan. For the first time, a look of genuine surprise flashed across Qinling Duhan's face. He yanked his battle sword from the tree with a violent jerk, then swiftly retreated hundreds of meters. Lancelot held aloft the sword in the tree, which had reverted to its two-handed form. A fierce, savage grin spread across Lancelot's face. This time, he would strike first. Come! He slammed the sword in the tree into the ground. The next instant, a thunderous roar erupted as the earth before him shattered inch by inch. One after another, massive, razor-sharp vines burst furiously from the ground, hurtling toward Qinling Duhan. Qinling Duhan frowned, his enormous frame deftly dodging the vine's assault. Yet the entire battlefield was swiftly engulfed by the ever-growing green colossus. Lancelot stomped on a vine, using its momentum to launch himself skyward. Plunging from above, he swung his massive green sword, aiming a devastating blow at Qinling Duhan. The sword in the tree's offensive capabilities are not particularly formidable. As a tree, it lacks sharpness and offers no amplification of supernatural abilities. Yet it inflicts endless trouble upon its opponents. Whether it rapidly sprouts vines that can cover an entire city upon touching the ground, or its formidable defensive capabilities and self-healing abilities derived from its thick fibers, it becomes the natural enemy of enhancement mutants whose primary combat method relies on sharp weapons. What it fears is fire. But not Qinling Duhan. In other words, Lancelot wielding the sword in the tree not only bridged the gap in ability index between them but also gained an elemental advantage. Now, the offensive and defensive roles had shifted. Lancelot, wielding the sword in the tree and adorned with Gawain, launched a frenzied assault upon Qinling Duhan. Boom! The sword in the tree, drawing upon Lancelot's power, began to spread and grow rapidly across the earth. These towering trees, vines several meters thick and hundreds of meters long, writhed across the ground like giant green dragons. Qinling Duhan swung his massive sword, cleaving through a dozen vines with a single strike. Yet as soon as he severed them, fresh vines sprouted in their place. Wherever the earth existed, it could grow endlessly, until the sword and the tree's user exhausted their supernatural power. Lancelot darted through the dense forest. While the vines caused considerable trouble for the massive Qinling Duhan, they allowed Lancelot to move freely. Seizing the moment the vines distracted Qinling Duhan, he launched a surprise attack. Clang! The blades collided, and instantly, the sword in the tree unleashed a torrent of vines that coiled tightly around Qinling Duhan's battle sword. The sight sent a chill down Qinling Duhan's spine. He strained to wrench his sword free, but Lancelot gave him no chance. He pressed forward relentlessly, unleashing a barrage of attacks. The sword in the tree had grown massive, matching Qinling Duhan's battle blade in size while boasting astonishing defensive power and maxed-out binding properties. This posed immense trouble for Qinling Duhan, who specialized solely in close combat. He slashed again and again, severing countless vines, but the growth of plants was no joke. Surrounded by a sea of towering trees, vines surged from all directions, relentlessly assaulting his body. Soon, vines coiled around Qinling Duhan's ankles, wrists, and torso. Ah! The great general of Nash Kingdom finally roared in fury. He unleashed his full power, a shockwave that shattered vines for thousands of meters around. Even Lancelot was sent flying. After using this move, the ground around him finally cleared. But soon, rustling sounds came again from all directions. Thick, long green vines, like venomous snakes, slithered toward him from every conceivable direction. Qinling Duhan's expression darkened completely. He did not fear direct combat, but this agonizing torment was pushing his psyche to the brink of collapse. Gritting his teeth, he began to crouch low. Then, with a sudden burst of power from his legs, he shot skyward like a rocket. Trying to run? It's not that easy. Chaos has already dealt with his problems. How could I, Lancelot, possibly lose to him? Lancelot roared with maniacal laughter, raising the sword in the tree in his right hand as if commanding the world. The vines covering vast swathes of the city below lifted their heads in unison, then shot skyward like a volley of arrows. Qinling Duhan couldn't fly after all. No matter how high he soared, he would still fall. The vines wrapped around his limbs midair. Unable to exert any force, he was brutally dragged downward by countless tendrils. Seeing this, Lancelot stepped onto a thick vine and charged straight toward him. His opponent was suspended in midair. Wasn't this the perfect moment to strike? Qinling Duhan desperately grabbed a vine midair, then violently tore apart the cage binding him. But there were thousands of vines here. He couldn't break them free. The more he struggled, the more tangled he became. Midair, Lancelot closed in. The colossal tree sword rose high, instantly growing hundreds of meters long. Then it aimed straight for his head, crashing down with brutal force. A heavy sword needs no edge, true mastery lies in simplicity. The sword in the tree had no blade, yet this strike was unbearable for anyone. Deprived of his foothold, Qinling Duhan couldn't generate power. Even blocking with his sword, he was struck viciously. Boom! He plummeted like a bullet into the sea of vines, completely engulfed. This time, escape was impossible. Lancelot laughed wildly, diving headfirst downward. This was the sea of trees, his own domain. Qinling Duhan was utterly finished. Though he possessed the innate, formidable physique of the three-eyed clan, Lancelot's home field advantage severely constrained his abilities. After battling him for a full half-hour, Lancelot finally managed to kill him. Looking out, the entire sixth layer of the abyss where Nash Kingdom lay was utterly destroyed, green vegetation now dominating every inch. Qinling Duhan's massive body was tightly wrapped by hundreds of enormous trees, leaving only a ghastly white head protruding from the trunks. Hundreds of gashes gouged into the tree trunks spewed blood like fountains, only to be greedily drained by the sword in the tree within. Lancelot gasped for breath, thrusting the sword in the tree into the ground before collapsing onto the roots to rest. This battle had utterly exhausted him, leaving him nearly drained of strength. Yet victory felt profoundly sweet. Once he absorbed all of Qinling Duhan's origin, he might ascend to the level of a black chariot. Then, he might stand a chance against Merlin, the second in command of the Knights of the Round Table, the court magician. As for the leader of the Round Table Knights, Arthur Pendragon, the legendary King Arthur? He dared not even dream of challenging such an existence. At least, for now. Both battlefields concluded with victories for the human faction, Zhang Yi against Senbamu, and Lancelot against Qinling Duhan. This placed immense pressure on the Nash Kingdom's generals commanding the other two fronts. The clash between Li and the Undertaker raged fiercely and dangerously. As a fire attribute mutant, Li's close combat prowess surpassed even Qinling Duhan. Moreover, anything struck by his fists would carry his power, triggering violent explosions. However, the Undertaker, empowered by power of the Tantric faith, was equally exceptional in close combat. Furthermore, his self-healing abilities flowed endlessly from Sangha Temple, sustained as long as his faith in Tantric faith remained unbroken. The two were evenly matched, locked in a grueling battle that had already reduced the entire district to ruins. General Li of Nash Kingdom confronts the Tantra Undertaker Jugo. The surrounding streets were similarly reduced to utter silence. As some of the world's most powerful extraordinary beings, each capable of obliterating a small to medium-sized city, no living creature remained within their battlefield. The entire battlefield lay charred and blackened, shrouded in swirling dark mist. Li's fiery red hair blazed, his fists engulfed in searing flames. Anything struck by his punches burst into roaring flames before exploding. This ability granted him immense dominance in close combat. Even the Undertaker couldn't avoid physical contact with him. Yet a layer of sacred golden light enveloped him, his ability, immortal golden body, shielding him from supernatural harm. But under Li's relentless assault, his defenses began to falter, showing signs of instability. Li gazed at the tiny monk before him, his eyes brimming with mockery as if observing an insect. "You've got some skills, but you're still no match for me. Though I imagine a hairless rat as powerful as you must taste absolutely delicious. Rest assured, you'll soon be entering my belly, becoming one with me." Ha ha ha. Li roared with laughter, his eyes burning with savage intent. Whoosh! He vanished from his position in an instant, reappearing behind the Undertaker in the blink of an eye. Accompanying his arrival was an endless storm of flames. His fist, nearly as large as a grown man, slammed viciously toward the back of the Undertaker's head. The Undertaker clasped his hands together, his entire body radiating brilliant golden light. The moment Li appeared behind him, his handsome almond-shaped eyes narrowed sharply. Crack! He swept his sleeve backward, his palm meeting Li's fist directly, blocking the powerful strike. But while he could block Li's fist, he couldn't block the force of the exploding fist. A viscous crimson energy, thick enough to be almost liquid, spread rapidly from their point of contact up the Undertaker's arm, completely enveloping it. Amidst the Undertaker's stunned gaze, boom! A violent explosion erupted instantly. A dark figure was violently hurled from the explosion's dust cloud. The Undertaker landed on the ground, looking somewhat bedraggled. One arm was charred black, still oozing blood. But soon, he raised his left hand and chanted a Buddhist mantra. A mysterious force was transmitted from Sangha Temple in the surface world, swiftly restoring his long-dead arm to its original state. Beneath the snowy plateau, he stood as if within a flowing spring, any injury instantly mended. Unless instantly killed, he was virtually indestructible. Yet, Li's attacks still caused him considerable distress. The Undertaker's primary combat style was also close-quarters fighting. With extremely limited ranged attack capabilities, he inevitably had to engage Li in physical combat. Yet for this explosive force forcibly transferred onto his body, he currently had no effective countermeasure. Li watched the Undertaker's arm fully regenerate before his eyes. The astonishment in his gaze grew ever more intense, but so did his mocking intent. Facing a living target that could constantly repair itself, this warrior was naturally overjoyed. He slammed his fists together, cracked his thick neck, and grinned widely. "I'll see just how long you can keep repairing yourself." The assault began anew, relentless as a storm. All around the Undertaker, his fists blazed with raging flames. Thick crimson energy coiled around his knuckles, viscous as liquid. Any physical contact caused it to cling like flesh-eating maggots, impossible to shake off. Under the relentless assault, the Undertaker could only evade, desperately trying to avoid direct contact. Their battle raged from the skies to the earth, shattering the ground beneath them. In the chaos, the Undertaker inevitably took hits. The explosions of that crimson energy were too much even for his golden divine body to withstand. He had to repeatedly draw upon the power of Sangha Temple to repair his form. Gradually, a look of despair crept onto the face of this supreme leader of the Tantra sect. He had believed himself the unrivaled champion of the Tantra faith, the mightiest being in 1,000 years, the reincarnation of the heroic King Geezer. It was his rightful destiny to subdue the abyss of demons and achieve unparalleled glory. Yet why, in the Nash Kingdom, could he not even defeat a mere general? How could he speak of destroying the demon abyss and bringing eternal peace to the snowy plateau? The Undertaker's eyes burned with unyielding defiance, a fire that Leah captured entirely. This only fueled his excitement, the mockery in his gaze growing ever more intense. He relished this feeling of toying with his opponent. Driving his foe to the brink, forcing a humiliating death, that was his favorite way to win. You hairless rat, you don't seriously believe you can defeat me, a full-fledged general of the Nash Kingdom, do you? Today, I'll make you understand what cruelty is. What despair is. Boom! His fists pounded the Undertaker relentlessly like a pile driver, as terrifying as thousands of black iron pillars relentlessly striking a mortar. The sheer physical force alone was enough to shatter a mountain, let alone the delayed explosion crimson supernatural contained within. Gritting his teeth, the Undertaker, pushed to the limit by Leah's relentless assault, grew desperate. Since evasion is futile, let's detonate together. Let's see who cracks first. His body erupted in surging golden light, his entire form bathed as if cast in molten gold, resembling a temple's golden Buddha statue. Immortal golden body, the flesh is indestructible, its power boundless. This punch collided directly with Leah's. The clash of one large fist against one small fist unleashed a torrent of force that instantly swept across all directions. The sheer power caused even Leah's pupils to contract slightly. Both men were instantly sent flying backward by the recoil. Leah twisted his arm, only to feel a tingling numbness spreading through it. This hairless rat. He's no ordinary foe, he muttered under his breath. Meanwhile, the second wave of crimson explosive flame energy struck the Undertaker's arm. The violent explosion left him utterly disheveled. Fortunately, no living creatures remained within dozens of miles, and no tantric followers had witnessed his pitiful state. Leah twisted his head and grinned. Quite a fun day. Let's keep going. The battle between Leah and the Undertaker was an exceptionally brutal and fierce contest. The Undertaker's strength was undeniably formidable, yet in actual combat, his experience proved woefully inadequate. Just as in the arena, possessing a powerful physique and sharp claws is not enough, one must also excel at leveraging their advantages to secure victory. Compared to the Grand General of Nash Kingdom, the gap in experience between the Undertaker and him was nothing short of staggering. He fought back fiercely, trying to project the aura of a Tantra leader, but from start to finish, he and Leah were simply not on the same level in combat. Leah's face was twisted into a savage, mocking grin as he treated the Undertaker like an amusing punching bag, unleashing wave after wave of attacks as dense as a storm. Boom! A torrent of fists pounded the Undertaker's body. The immense force, combined with the secondary damage of the exploding fist, left him utterly exhausted, swaying like a flickering candle in the wind. His body was finally hurled violently backward. Even as he desperately raised his right hand, seeking to borrow power from the deities revered by the Tantric faith, the energy surged into his frame only to vanish almost instantly. He was too weakened to bear the weight of millennia of sacrificial offerings. Leah's immense shadow engulfed him entirely. His head of fiery red hair swirled like flames, a sight that reminded the Undertaker of the malevolent specters depicted in Tantra scriptures. You're quite impressive. You deserve to die by my hand. With that, Leah unleashed a colossal fist, its impact creating a gale-force wind. Boom! The blow struck the Undertaker squarely in the head. Crack! The young skull burst open like a watermelon. The Tantra Undertaker fell in battle, slain by Nash Kingdom's General Leah. Leah wasted no time. Before the victim's origin could dissipate, he pinched the corpse between two fingers and tossed it into his massive maw. Screech crunch. He chewed the bloody flesh before swallowing it down his throat. He instantly felt a surge of immense power flooding into his body. Li patted his belly with satisfaction, his savage grin widening into a brilliant smile. In Nash Kingdom, few warriors could now stand equal to him. He couldn't very well hunt other generals or royal nobles. Thus, finding such perfect prey to hunt filled him with exhilaration. At that moment, he clenched his fists, feeling power surge wildly through every limb and bone. Oh! I feel it. This surge of power. It's absolutely magnificent. He stared excitedly at his own body. His frame, already that of a towering giant, was slowly growing larger, shooting up another 5 or 6 meters. He licked his lips, then suddenly lifted his head to gaze at the divine spirit temple in the sky. In this state, I am likely the most powerful being in the Nash Kingdom now. The king is old. Why should the spirit of sacrifice be passed to his young son? This world should belong to the strongest. A cruel smile spread across his lips. Then, his powerful legs stomped the ground, launching him skyward like a bullet toward the divine spirit temple. Boom! He shattered the divine spirit temple's defenses. Guards at the doors rushed to block him, only to be crushed into pulp by his hands. Li charged through the divine spirit temple, reaching its highest point, the chamber housing the spirit of sacrifice. Young Prince Anlet stood before the spirit of sacrifice, awaiting the absorption of its immense power. Li let out a loud laugh. Your Highness, the power of this spirit of sacrifice is too immense for you to handle. Let me take it. Turning his head, Anlet saw the arrival was none other than the kingdom's general Li. Moreover, Li's aura now radiated even greater power than before, causing Anret's expression to change. Li, what are you doing here? Get out immediately. The spirit of sacrifice belongs to our royal family. Li spat contemptuously onto the ground. Bah! The treasures of this world belong to those with the power to claim them. What are you royals, anyway? He charged forward, snapping Prince Anlet's neck in mere moments. Then he approached the massive crimson crystal, his eyes glazed with intoxication as he reached out to touch it. The Undertaker gazed calmly at the red-haired giant before him, his right hand slowly resting on his chest as he exhaled a cloud of stale breath. His right arm, scorched by intense heat, had been reduced to a desiccated, almost mummified stump. Yet, empowered by a mysterious force, flesh and blood slowly regenerated, restoring it to its original, intact form. Li's eyes were hollow as he stood rooted in place, maintaining his offensive stance, yet a savage, triumphant grin twisted his lips. It turned out that much of what had just transpired was merely an illusion he had perceived. Within the teachings of Tantra lies the doctrine of the 6 senses, referring to the 6 innate human senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and thought. Legend holds that monks who attain supreme mastery can freely control their own 6 senses and even influence others' perceptions. In ancient times, enlightened masters often used illusory realms to guide the world. The Undertaker's ability was precisely this: 6 senses discerning dust. By finding a crack in one's psyche, he could exploit intense desires to draw them into illusions. Within these illusions, one can obtain everything desired, thereby losing oneself and forgetting where one truly is. Even upon realizing it's an illusion, one remains so engrossed that they refuse to accept reality. Thus, this is the most difficult illusion to dispel. For people always prefer to immerse themselves in beautiful things, unwilling to awaken, even if it means deceiving themselves. Gazing at his healing arm, the Undertaker couldn't help but marvel, what a formidable 3-eyed clan member. Without the blessings of the Tantra, I might not have defeated him so easily. Several Tantra protectors, armed with weapons, leapt forward, intent on slaying Li immediately. No! The Undertaker's voice cut them off instantly. The men looked at the Undertaker. Undertaker, why won't you let us kill him? The Undertaker shook his head. You cannot kill him. Doing so would only provoke him to awaken. Once he's fully conscious, subduing him will become far more troublesome. Killing a Black Chariot level enhancement individual, especially one from the 3-eyed clan with their formidable physique, was an exceedingly difficult task. Even the Undertaker feared that a single strike might fail to kill him, instead rousing him from his illusory realm. Once the Six Dust's discernment was exposed, it could not be used a second time on the same individual. By then, even greater sacrifices might not suffice to subdue him. Then, what should we do? The monks exchanged glances. The Undertaker spoke calmly. He is utterly lost within his own world. Unless he awakens to the truth that all worldly things are fleeting illusions, his will cannot be restored. Leave him here. Let him be. Hearing this, the group bowed respectfully to the Undertaker before silently retreating to the rear. The Undertaker pondered for a moment, then walked over to carry the massive body. With a single leap, he plunged into the abyss of Nash Kingdom, placing the body in its deepest, darkest depths. Upon the curved corridor, Gao Changkong was blocked by Nash Kingdom's Grand General, Kanaju. Gao Changkong and his two companions halted in their tracks. A single glance was enough to make them feel the immense pressure emanating from the creature before them.